Hamilton Burger.
Perry Mason, I got a soft spot. I mean, maybe more for, Della Street than Hamilton Burger. But yes, Hamilton Burger, he got 3 wins off Perry Mason. That qualifies as big-time stuff in the, late 1950s, early 60s?
Yeah, I mean, he got 3 wins and piled up about 425 losses. You watch every night.
Yeah,
you know.
I do.
The wins are few and far between.
Very.
Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, Shohei dominates again. Yannick Sinner falls apart in France, and Buster Olney joins us for 5 good minutes. But we begin today with tonight's Game 6 in San Antonio between the Spurs and the Thunder. Oklahoma City is up 3-2 in this series, so this is an elimination game for San Antonio. In their last game, the Thunder dominated Victor Wembanyama, and the Spurs lost by 13 points. Wilbon, do you give the Spurs a big chance, a small chance, or no chance at all of forcing a Game 7?
Big chance, Tony. I don't know if Victor Wembanyama, as ground down as he appears to be at this point, and naturally, understandably, I don't know if he's got 2 great games left in him to win the series, but I think he's got 1. And I think he delivers that one tonight. I think that's what we're going to see. I think we're going to see Wembanyama go to the length that his personality suggests he will go, which is anything to get a win for his team tonight. And he's going to need some help. He's going to need Dylan Harper. He's going to need De'Aaron Fox. I should have listed him the other way. De'Aaron Fox first. He's the vet. De'Aaron Fox has got to come to the rescue and help here.
That's right.
And then Dylan Harper and Stephon Castle. They need all of them. They need the whole ensemble, right? And even then, Oklahoma City could win this, game and end the series. But I think that we're going to see Wembanyama muscle up one more great performance. He's had a couple in this series to get his team in this position, but to extend it, he's got to do tonight. I think he will.
Yeah, I hate to disappoint the viewers who are going to expect me to disagree. I do not disagree with anything that you've said. I give San Antonio a big chance. I actually do expect them to win. The last time they were in this situation when they had lost a game, came back to win the next game, it was in San Antonio, which is where this game is going to be. I think Wembanyama will have a much better game than he had last time. I think he was 4 for 15 and 0 for 5 from 3, and he was sort of sandwiched between Hartenstein and Holmgren, and he didn't do anything. But you're right, De'Aaron Fox had 9 points, and Dylan Harper had 5, so you weren't helping this guy out at all. Look, we know what Victor Wembanyama wants. We know he has publicly said, I want to be the MVP. He has publicly said he took it personally that Gilgeous-Alexander became the MVP because he wanted it. We believe he wants to be the face of the league. These games are the opportunity to seize to be the face of the league. In the 2 games that the Spurs have won, he has 74 points, 32 rebounds, and 6 blocks. That is the formula for him. He has to get help, because if he doesn't get any help, he'll be defended like he was defended. But if you have aspirations that are that high, higher than your 7'5" frame, these are the games that give you that opportunity.
And Tony, these are the games we remember. I mean, people who follow this game or whatever the sport is, these are the games when you play for elimination. You're trying to stave it off, right? And you got this game at home in front of adoring fans who are used to people delivering championships because they've done that in San Antonio. I like this whole series, I can't wait for this tip-off tonight. Let's move to baseball, where we had 2 standout starting pitching performances last night. Shohei hit a leadoff homer, or what's new, and pitched 6 no-hit innings for the Dodgers, but allowed an earned run. So his ERA actually went up to .82. And Christopher Sanchez of the Phillies threw 7 shutout innings for the Phillies, bringing his scoreless streak to a new club record, 44 2/3 innings. So which of these, to you, was more impressive?
Look, I'm going to say Shohei because I think he has a charisma that nobody else has right now. You gave all the statistics that he did. He's the leadoff home run along with the no-hitting. I think it's possible that we are looking at someone who will be judged as the greatest baseball player of all time. And that's not ever going to be said about Sanchez. It's not going to be said. But I don't want to give short shrift to Sanchez here. Because 44 2/3 innings without an earned run. Shohei doesn't have that. Shohei's best is 32 2/3. Only 6 guys in the history of Major League Baseball have that, and I'm going to read their names. Sal Magley, Carl Hubble, Zach Greinke, Bob Gibson, Don Drysdale, Oral Hershiser. It's pretty big names. And now I'm going to give you the name of the Philadelphia pitcher whose record Sanchez just broke by getting to 44 2/3. Grover Cleveland Alexander. You ever hear of him? Because he had 373
like
wins.
11 or something like that.
Sanchez did not allow and will not allow an earned run in the month of May. 39 innings, 45 strikeouts, just three walks, and no earned runs. So, don't think for a second that I don't think that's a great achievement, because it is.
Tony, when you go Drysdale and Gibson, we're talking 1968, by the way. We're talking being inclusive of those men, all-time greats. I'm going to go Shohei. So yesterday, I had the great pleasure of spending some time with Pedro Martinez, speaking of the great, Pedro Martinez. And at one point, Pedro had a ball in his hand, and I was just asking, we were talking about starting pitching. And you know how I am fanatical about it, even more obsessive than you, about what has happened to starting pitching, and you're pretty out there with me. Yep. And I asked Pedro, I said, if somebody came to take you out with a no-hitter, I think I know what would happen. And Pedro had a ball that he had signed in his hand. And he looked at me, and he had a great smile on his face, as only Pedro can do. And he just sort of aimed it like he was aiming it right here between my eyebrows. And that is why I laughed like crazy, because that's what we thought should happen. The Bob Gibsons and the Pedros and the Steve Carltons and the Tom Seavers. Get out of my way, Holmes. But yet, Shohei didn't get to finish it. He threw, he had another home run. That's to be expected. He's the only person in that category. But I know you're not supposed to go longer than 97 pitches. I get it. But, Pedro would have said, get out of here, Skip. Get out of here, because I'll plunk you.
Let's move to tennis in today's stunning upset. Number 1 seed Jannik Sinner wilted in the 90-plus degree heat in Paris. He was up 2-0 and 5-1 in the third, serving for the match against Juan Manuel Cerundolo, I hope I pronounced that correctly, the 56th ranked player in the world, and Sinner fell apart. He needed medical attention at times. He lost 18 points in a row from that 5-1 lead in 18 of the next 20 games. He metaphorically and literally got cooked. Wilbon, what's your reaction to this upset, and what could it mean for Novak Djokovic?
Okay, so this was the second story today that I was obsessed with. Look, I've been in Europe a lot in summers in my life, and 84 degrees, I know that sends the Parisians, and don't even talk about the Brits, it sends them into a frenzy. If you get to 80 degrees, 84 and then 90 in Paris is a big deal.
90.
And then 90 is a big deal. I get it, Tony. I just hope that's all it is heat exhaustion. I hope that's all it is. I just got worried about it, because Sinner's not some dude who's not in shape. He's not Luka. Sinner is in tip-top condition, it seems. I know he had an issue in Australia, but down there, those temperatures in the Australian Open get to be like 115. That's a different deal. I hope that's all it is, but he had won, 61 sets this year. He was 58-3 in the 61 sets this year. He and Alcaraz have owned the slam events in the last, 9? So this, opens the door for Joker.
9 in a row.
But, so Tony, I didn't know what to make of it. It just seemed to me to be extreme. Extreme, I was worried.
Yeah. I understand that. I'll take the Djokovic angle here. He's now the luckiest tennis player in the world, because he walked into the French Open and Alcaraz wasn't in it because he was injured. Yeah. And now Sinner is out after 2 rounds because of the heat. So Djokovic is right now, he's got a clean path to the top at the moment. He's 39 years old, but he appears to be spry right now. He's played 2 matches. They both went 4 sets. He didn't seem to be exhausted by the heat, although he has called Roland Garros a cauldron of heat. I want to get to the personal reflections like you just got to before. I remember covering a Wimbledon, and the English, they stand online, they queue online, as they say there. They wait for hours to get in, and it was 85 degrees, and they were dropping. They were dropping because 85 in England is like 105 here. 90 in Paris, like 110 here. That's how it works. I went to many U.S. Opens when it was over 90 degrees.
All the time.
It affects It affects tennis. It affects golf. People old enough to remember Ken Venturi, at Congressional with heat exhaustion. You're out there running around for hours. I covered these things from a glass-enclosed, air-conditioned press box. It's different when you're actually out there. It's different, and he's had trouble before, Mike.
Yeah.
He's had trouble at the Aussie Open. His quote today was, this was the maximum I had. So he tried his best. He did. Let's take a break. Coming up, could the Tigers really trade Tarek Skubal? We're going to ask Buster Olney.
We'll also ask him whether the league plans to do anything about the lowest cumulative batting average in like 60 years. Tony, they couldn't live in Washington, D.C. We fry like an egg here all summer. All of our lives. We play golf every day in it.
We've got baseball questions for our great friend, ESPN senior baseball writer and PTI Farm Bureau chief, Buster Olney, who's got his onions and his beets in the ground, and we're awaiting the potatoes. Let's start with this. Tarek Skubal will throw another simulated game on Monday. Do you believe that the Tigers will trade Skubal?
Yeah, Tony, unless they bounce back in a big way, because they have been playing terribly. He will be traded before the trade deadline. Scott Harris, the head of baseball operations for the Tigers, is viewed by his peers as being objective. In other words, he's not going to go for a Hail Mary if the Tigers are way behind. And yes, Tarek Skubal, who's going to be a free agent in the fall, would bring back a ton of value. And if he is traded, pay attention to some of the usual suspects, teams like the Dodgers, like the Phillies. I think the San Diego Padres will be an interesting team to watch because obviously Skubal could be a difference maker for that rotation.
All right, we got to go into an area now, Buster, that terrifies me. Even when the Cubs had won 19 of 22, the pitching injuries led me to believe then we could lose 15 out of 20. And we're headed there. What, in the middle of this losing now, after two 10-game winning streaks, what does the industry make of the Cubs?
So people around the sport actually think the Cubs at heart are a good team, that they might have the best position player lineup in the game. Around the diamond, the offense that they have and the defense that they can play. But, Michael, here is the part of the Cubs which will eventually take them down, and that is in this era of high velocity and swing and miss. The Cubs rank 30th out of 30 teams in rotation velocity. In other words, their guys just don't throw as hard as some of the other teams' guys. They rank 27th out of 30 teams in strikeouts, and that's not part of a master plan. Cade Horton, as you know, who was the ace of the staff, he got hurt early in the year. He was kind of their power guy. He's out for the season. The Cubs are going to have to go out in the trade market and maybe trade for someone who can miss bats.
Justin Steele not coming back anytime soon either?
No, well, he might come back, but I don't think he's going to change that dynamic of the swing and miss being a problem for the Cubs.
Ugh. Bad news all around. Okay, I got to get off that topic. Baseball's cumulative batting average, Buster, is 239, the lowest since 1968. And we know historically what baseball did in 68, lowering the mound. Would there be changes? They just ride this out? You ignore it? What's the answer is if there is one?
So, Michael, first and foremost, Major League Baseball has got a lot of other things on its plate. The upcoming CBA negotiations, well, actually, they just started this week. After that, they have to get new TV contracts. They've talked about expansion. So it doesn't look like any magic formulas coming down the path to try to fix offense. The last time we went through this, when they made rules restricting defensive positioning, they talked about having a pie slice behind second base where no fielder was allowed to stand. As time has gone on since they put in these shift regulations, you notice more and more infielders going into that area. I would not be surprised if they, at some point, put a regulation in where they don't allow anybody in that spot. But generally speaking, the pitchers are ahead of the hitters. Pitchers are throwing harder than ever, and hitting is more difficult than ever before.
For those of us old enough to remember 1968 and Denny McLain and Bob Gibson, And
Yeah.
baseball looked around and said, we can't have this.
Don
We can't
Drysdale,
have people winning
yes.
31 and people with an ERA of 1.12 for an entire season. We'll get you out of here on this. And you mentioned this before, alluded to it, the labor negotiations. They got started yesterday. Do you have any big picture thoughts on those?
Yeah, it was interesting, Tony. It kind of made me chuckle a little bit. 15 years ago, Major League Baseball would reach out to you and say, our competitive balance is much better than what people think. Because, of course, we would write biggest market teams, dominating, it felt like, at the top of the standings. Well, now what we're hearing from Major League Baseball is we're hearing from our fans that we need more competitive balance. And let's face it, I think from the owner's side, you would love a system, and they proposed a salary cap where there's more cost certainty. And my big question on the union side is, can the rank and file hold together? If you remember the last labor negotiation, the union leadership put a recommendation in front of the players to reject the owner's last offer, and the rank and file bulldozed that because they wanted to go back to work. Certainly the union is not as together as it was back in 94, 95 when they went out on strike for the last third of the 1994 season, and the World Series was canceled.
Could be a new day.
Buster, it's a pleasure to have you on.
Thank
Thanks
you,
so
Buster.
much.
Appreciate
Love having
it.
you on. Thank you, Buster.
Always love talking to you guys.
Let's take one last break. Still to come, Greg Sankey says his SEC is the best football conference by far. We're going to find out what Wilbon thinks
I
about
got something
that.
to the contrary
Mr.
from
Big
Mr.
Ten.
Sankey.
Yeah.
Canadians look all but done. They do. I wasn't cheering for.
Happy time, people. Happy 69th birthday, Kirk Gibson, the author of one of the most famous home runs in baseball history, the pinch hit walk-off homer in the 1988 World Series that caused Jack Buck to proclaim, "I don't believe what I just saw." Gibson was a World Series winner in 1984 with the Tigers when he hit a 3-run homer off Goose Gossage in the clinching Game 5, and with the Dodgers in '88 where he hit that stunner off Dennis Eckersley in Game 1. Gibson was National League MVP in 1988 and Manager of the Year with Arizona in 2011. In 2015, Gibson was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease and stepped away from the broadcast booth with the Tigers in 2025 to help others with Parkinson's.
What an athlete, all Big Ten football player at Michigan State. Tony, I had a press credential to go to that game, but I didn't go because I couldn't stay awake because I had just come back from where?
Korea.
Couldn't
me
stay
too.
awake. Passed up the game.
Couldn't stay awake. Fell asleep on my kitchen table. Happy anniversary, Lance Stevenson. On this day 12 years ago, cameras caught the Indiana guard blowing into LeBron's ear during Game 5 of an intense Heat Pacers Eastern Conference final. Stevenson, a Brooklyn native, said later, quote, "We were trying to win his championship against one of the greatest players ever. So, I brought it all. I brought the New York out and tried my best to stop him. We won that game, that's all that mattered," unquote. LeBron later recruited Stevenson to play with him on the Lakers. Stevenson last played in the NBA in 2022. Now 35, Stevenson entered the world of mixed martial arts this past weekend, winning a fight against former NBA player Michael Beasley on the Johnny Manziel undercard.
I wish Stevenson was in that position and done the same thing to Bill Laimbeer. If you just merged their errors, the different times they played, and matched those two up, how aggravating would each have been to the other?
Happy trails to Game 4 for the Montreal Canadiens. The Hurricanes scored 3 times in less than 3 minutes in the first, and that was that. Carolina won the game 4-0, now holds a 3-1 series lead. The Canadiens have managed just 43 total shots across 3 consecutive losses. Montreal fans chanted, "Shoot the puck," to no avail. Canadiens coach Martin St. Louis said afterwards, "It's not fun to hear that, but they're not wrong." He added that he believes the Habs can still win the series. Do you, Mike?
No, Tony, I don't think so. I mean, I know momentum can be overrated, but they just took Montreal by storm in that game. The game was over almost instantly.
Yes. And a melancholy trails to Claude Lemieux. The physical forward is gone at the age of 60. Lemieux played for 21 seasons and won 4 cups. The first with the Canadiens in 1986, then 2 with the Devils, sandwiching 1 with the Avalanche. He was known as an aggressive player who delivered his best performances in the playoffs. Lemieux just carried the pregame torch into the Bell Center before Monday's Game 3.
Tony, did seem like regular seasons you might not particularly notice Claude Lemieux. And then, boom, April, May, and maybe into June, there he was with big performances. Time after time.
Absolutely a great player. An absolutely great player. Let's go to the big finish.
Let's do it.
NBA owners passed the new anti-tanking rules, which I care about, with only the Grizzlies voting against. Your thoughts?
I know you do. I don't. I don't care about it. Give me some, other rules that make people play every night when people pay $2,000 to go see them. Greg Sankey says the SEC is the best football conference by far. You with that garbage?
Well, I don't know if it's garbage, but I know that the Big Ten, your conference, has won the last 3 national championships, and head-to-head in the playoffs is 4-0 against the SEC, so it's, I don't know. Neymar will miss 2 to 3 weeks with a calf injury, meaning he could miss Brazil's first World Cup game. Do you find that significant?
I do, just because Neymar, I know he's not what he was. He's like 34 years old, but he and Lamine Yamal both missing maybe the first game. That's a lot of star power, different points of their careers. Yordan Alvarez has homered twice in 2 games in a row. Smelling a trifecta tonight?
No. He's really good. But no.
No trifecta.
Last one, Serena Williams has requested a wild card to play doubles at the Queen's Club tournament. Do you find that a big deal?
Anywhere that Serena Williams wants to play tennis, somebody should go and pick her up in the biggest, coolest limousine ever and bring her to your court and say, Serena, have at it.
We're out of time. We will try to do better the next time. Carolyn Sugru, shout out.
I'm Mike Wilbon. Same time tomorrow, knuckleheads. And now, your SportsCenter.